Okay, we move to the final item of business, which is a members' business debate on motion 2164 in the name of Stuart McMillan on Scottish history in schools. The debate, as ever, will be concluded without any questions being put. Would those members wishing to take part please press the request to speak buttons now or as soon as possible, or place an R in the chat function if they're joining us online. And joining us online is Stuart McMillan. I call on Mr McMillan to open. He's in the chamber. Excellent. I call on Stuart McMillan to open the debate for around 7 minutes, Mr McMillan.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. First of all, I'd like to thank all members from across the chamber who have signed the motion to allow this debate to take place. I was asked to submit the motion to have this debate by a constituent, Gordon Bryce, from the 1820 Society. I heard late last night that Gordon sadly passed away this week, and as such I would like to pay tribute to him for his enthusiasm and passion for life, but also for his hard work to help educate more people about the 1820 insurrection. I know that he certainly was looking forward to this debate taking place, and as such I will dedicate my contribution today to him. Maya Angelou stated, "History, despite its retching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again." Saying also, anyone who argues for the sanitised version of the truth to suit their agenda is wrong. I don't want our classrooms to be consumed by historical lessons that only tell part of the story simply because the state says so. Historically, that has taken place and is, in my opinion, one of the reasons many of us will often have heard comments from others about the lack of appreciation or understanding of the history of Scotland for good or bad. I've always believed that having a knowledge of the past is crucial for the present and also the future. And learning about World War II and the atrocities that the Nazi regime ensured that my international outlook in life was there, certainly for going forward. And spending time with young Germans as part of a student exchange programme whilst a teenager, and then studying in Dorton whilst at university, gave me the opportunity to discuss and learn more about the present at that time and the hopes and aspirations for the future. This was always with the backdrop of that sad recent past shaping the future. I admire the generations of German people who have faced up to and also owned their past and dedicated themselves to ensuring that history does not repeat itself. So where does this leave Scotland? Now, recently my youngest had a homework project entitled Sir William Wallace, Hero or Traitor? Now, my first reaction was, of course, to say that he was a hero. Go on to the Society of William Wallace website and you can learn more about him and the actions to commemorate him. However, for the educational purposes, the proposed question was actually right. Why should we automatically consider the often written position of history as the only truth? After some further research, my daughter completed the project and came up with her own answer, and I'm pleased to say that she did agree with me on this particular occasion, which I can assure you is not always often. Now, my motion mentions the Radical War of 1820. And I first became aware of this part of our history when I was asked to pipe at a memorial in Paisley in 2004. There always seemed to be events about this in Paisley, Strathern, in Glasgow and elsewhere. And I had no knowledge of Inverclyde's sad involvement in this part of our history. I mean, speaking to people from Inverclyde about the Radical War, it was obviously a part of our history that was a very well-kept secret. But then it wasn't just my area, it was other parts of Scotland too. At the bottom of Bank Street in Greenock, there's now situated a monument to those citizens who died in the massacre in Cathcart Street on the 8th of April 1820. John McWhinney, 65, Adam Glenfane, 48, John Boyce, 33, Archibald Drummond, 20, James Kerr, 17, Archibald McKinnon, 17, William Lindsay, 15, and James McGilp, 8. These individuals were shot indiscriminately by the Port Glasgow militia volunteers, who were accompanying 5 Paisley Weaver prisoners to the Greenock jail. The Radical War was never taught in our school, and certainly I was made aware of the events in school about Peterloo and Tolpuddle. But over many years, the 1820 Society have helped keep this part of our history alive and to bring it to many more people. However, this surely should be a part of our Scottish history, actually being taught in our schools for future generations. As George Orwell stated, the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. Our history cannot be rewritten, but it should be told in all of its fullness. A further part of the motion centres on Scotland's part in the transatlantic slave trade. Now, this Parliament has agreed to examine how we acknowledge and talk about Scotland's role in this, and also in the Empire. Now, man's subjugation of man is not glorious or positive, no matter how much wealth was actually generated. All across the country, there are examples of how this vile trade enriched the few. My own constituency was a global leader in the sugar industry, as well as having involvement in tobacco and cotton. And the sugar warehouses at James Watt Dock were built long after the abolition of slavery. However, clearly the profits over many years in the sugar industry will have played a part in constructing this iconic building. After this chamber voted to ensure that Scotland tells its story, I established a working group to consider the location of a national museum, as I believe that such a facility should be located in Greenock at the sugar warehouses. And there are many reasons why the location is ideal, and I have not yet heard of a sound reason why it should be established elsewhere or even become a network of smaller facilities. If we as a nation genuinely want to tell our story in full, a facility akin to the standalone International Slavery Museum in Liverpool must be what we aim for. In this themed year of Scotland's stories, situating such a museum in Greenock would be fitting. Having that type of facility to visit, and as an essential visit for all school pupils, would certainly help present and future generations fully understand and appreciate our past. Another reason why I'm so invested in this particular project is due to the letter I received from a young constituent in 2020, where they outlined their experience of the Scottish education system as a black pupil. I was given permission to share the letter with the Education Secretary at the time, and I've had dialogue with the students since. Now, I know that across Scotland there will be other young people of colour who have had a similar school experience compared to white pupils. They will have had a different school experience compared to white pupils. And I think that's I think it's rather sad, to be quite frank with you. This is why I support a review of racial equality in our schools, so that teachers can be better equipped to talk about Scotland's history in its fullness. And I believe a National Human Rights Museum would be instrumental in helping educate people of all ages about Scotland's role in the slave trade and also the Empire. As a former slave abolitionist, Frederick Douglass stated, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now, I quote Douglass for a specific reason. He toured Britain and Ireland and spoke in Greenock on the 10th of April 1846 and also on the 23rd of January 1860. Why then is Scotland not ensuring that this part of our history is fully narrated to future generations? Apart from a small land border, Scotland is surrounded by water. Where is the greater historical education about how Scotland's maritime past generated wealth and inequality, including our involvement in assisting the Confederacy in the American Civil War? This is where the Clyde Atlantic Trust and its campaign to both help educate present and future generations about the Clyde's Atlantic history is a national story that needs to be told. They too are campaigning to create a museum using immersive technology to help tell that story. Educational, this would be fascinating and hugely important in helping us understand our trading past. Also, there are many, many more examples of our history that should be told in our curriculum, and I accept that we cannot tell them all. But I do not consider the job of our educators to be easy in this particular regard, which is why I support further resources to support teachers in this task. I'll end my speech with one other quote, which I believe to be fitting for this debate. It also comes from Frederick Douglass. "The life of a nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful and virtuous." Presiding Officer, we have that opportunity to be honest, truthful and virtuous to help future generations. We owe it to them in memory of those that have gone before us. Thank you.